All right, says I am live. So let's see, make sure everything's working here. Check to see if I can see this. Ooh, that's freaky. Okay. All right, so this is just a test. So we're going to see what we're doing here. Hey, Mythos. Can you hear me? I want to make sure everyone can hear me when I do this. Make sure my sound's up. I know my lighting is crap. I'm going to find a better place to do this. Excellent. Excellent. That's what I want. Trying to make sure this works. Make sure my lighting, which is horrible, but I'm gonna have to figure out some place better to do this, I think, or come up with a better lighting system. It's an old house, so my lighting is crap here. But I think this is good. How you doing, my brother? Mythos. Let's see how this is working. All right. Well, let's mess around with things here. This is pretty simple. Live chat. Got it. Sorry, I'm just messing around with stuff here. I haven't used the YouTube Studios live streaming before. So, seems to be working fine to me, though. Right here. Ah, nice. Asian buffet. That's cool, yeah. No, most of my kids are at my brother's house. They're sleeping over there tonight. And we went out to, it's actually funny, we went out to Bayshore today, which is a mall out in Ottawa. It's called Bayshore Mall. It's actually where Games Workshop used to be when I worked there. The store has obviously moved now. It's further down the street in like a strip mall sort of thing. But we went there so my wife could return a dress, and decided to take a look. And the place that was the Games Workshop is now a hairdresser, or it was a hairdresser before, or it was next door. Now the hairdresser's taken over. I think actually 3 places now. It used to be hairdresser, then Games Workshop, then some sort of like non-profit daycare. And the whole thing now is just a hairdresser. The whole mall is changed. But it was cool to go back there and sort of take a trip down memory lane a bit. The whole place has changed. It's not the same. It's one of those big malls too, like 3 levels, multi-parking. There's a Walmart at one end, another the Bay, Hudson's Bay company at the other end. It's a massive mall, one of those big ones. But it was good. It was unfortunate. It's sad to see how much they've changed. It was nice to have some time with the missus and I, with no kids around. Again, we actually lived near there for the longest time before we had kids, and we actually lived right across the street from the mall. I always joked, because I was high enough up in this apartment we lived in, I could send one of those zip lines from my room directly across the 3rd floor of this mall. I could just zip line to work every day. Probably not the safest thing, but I could zip line to work every day. Never did do that, but yeah, we lived around there for a while, so it was cool walking around, seeing some of the old stores are still there. There's a whole bunch of other ones. There's a new one called Mind Games there that was half the store is Funko Pops, which sort of states how those are going right now. But yeah, and I saw that you posted that. I think you did, anyways. On yeah, thanks a lot, man. That means a lot. It was you posting that in the Wolf Lord, calling all Wolf Lords chat there. It would be badass to Batman my way to work. Probably horribly unsafe now, though. And probably one of those. I'd have one of those Wile E. Coyote moments where the whole line would just sag, and I'd end up in the middle of the street, get hit by like a 18-wheeler transport. uh, yeah, no, this is gonna be fun. I still haven't figured out what day I want to do these live streams at, or how long I'm gonna do it. I might just do it for an hour, and start with that. Use it to get some maybe some painting done, chat with whoever wants to listen, wants to put up with my annoying voice. But yeah, I don't know, I like this so far. Again, I'm also trying to figure out what time of day. Obviously, if I do it during the week, it's got to be later on at night, and I don't want to do it on Friday nights because I don't want to try and compete with your stream. And Tuesday night, the Taco Tuesdays there, the Gamecraft Dragon. I like watching those. He's always got a really good opinion about a lot of different things. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. If I do it on the weekend, it's kind of hard. The kids around all day long, and trying to do this with a bunch of little kids running around would be impossible. So I don't know what day to do it on. Hopefully, I'll figure out something soon. I'm thinking maybe Thursday nights. Again, it'd have to be later in the evening. I don't know if Thursday's the best day to do it. Yeah, that's the problem I'm coming up with now. It's a little bit of crazy right now, trying to figure out when to do this. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you guys can know. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me figure it out. I also came up with a really cool idea, but I don't know if I'm going to pull it off right now or if I'm going to wait until I've built up a bit more of a consistency of days and then build up sort of a routine or a habit and then do it. But I've never seen anybody else do it. I've been looking around for it. So if I could pull it off, I think it'd be really cool. Or not, or could completely blow up my face and mean absolutely horrible. But I think it'll work. I think it'll work. I don't know. I know I've also been wrestling with the fact that I really do need to get my hey, Mr. Gotti, hello. Well, happy Saturday to you, my friend. Thank you very much. I'm not going to be on that late. This is a test one, but thank you for popping in. I will again, once I figure out what day, I will sort of set that in stone. But like I was saying, I'm in the middle of coming to terms with the fact that it's probably time to put my my firstborn Marines away and really start focusing on getting my Primaris Marines done. I've got Hellblasters, Reavers, a whole bunch, 2 lieutenants, Ventress to do, and another model I picked up that I'm not going to tell anybody about till it's done because my God, it's so good and can't wait to get it done. But yeah, no. So I think it's time to get that stuff done because I have a sneaking suspicion while they may stay around. What, Mr. Fish? That's how did how is that fish? Just what in the ever loving English language is that? Okay, that's. Well, I apologize, Mr. Fish. Mr. Fish. Fishy, 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 fish. No, I think it's time to get rid of the firstborn because I have a feeling they may survive 10th edition, but I have a feeling after that there'll be enough replacements for every unit out there. I mean, now we've got sort of, we were talking about this before, Mythos and I, we now technically have a Devastator replacement with the new missile Marines there. And I mean, with the all the other different weapons, the Eradicators, Eliminators, even hell, the heavy intercessors, all the various heavy weapons for the most part are accounted for now. Multi-meltas, you have your Las Fuziles, heavy bolters. It's all kind of covered, and so I have a feeling. And of course, the big rumor that we're going to be seeing assault, like jetpack equipped assault Primaris Marines at some point. There goes your assault squads. I know assault squads are doing really well for certain armies. Blood Angels, they've had some big winning armies with assault Marines, but I think the time of the firstborn Marines is really drawing to a close. I wouldn't be surprised if in 10th edition they took even more of a backseat than they are right now to the Primaris Marines. I mean, they're moving all these characters, a lot of characters over. I mean, obviously, we saw a whole ton of characters, especially if your models were like really old. They were at this point, the fine cast, they're all gone now. Most of the Ultramarine characters are gone. We got Ventress and Calgar and Tigurius were Primarisized, but the rest are all gone. Cassius is no longer available. Cronus, Tellian, still in the book, but no longer available. A bunch of Blood Angel characters, Space Wolf, Dark Angels, no longer available. I mean, now, what's his name there? I can't remember his name. Dark Angel's Grandmaster. Why am I forgetting his name now? Anyways, he's become Primaris, and all these characters are now Primaris Marines. So I think we're going to see the firstborns disappear. I mean, it's crazy now. Beforehand, if you opened up the Space Marine Codex in like 7th edition, you had two troop choices. You had, yeah, exactly. So I think probably 11th they'll probably be gone. They were saying that you had you had tactical squad and scout squad as troop choices. That was it, too. Right, and then depending on what other armies you took, Space Wolves had, your Great Hunters and your Blood Claws, but it was usually just two troop choices. Now we've got 6 altogether in the Space Marine Codex. Only one of them is firstborn, the tactical squad. Everything else is Primaris now. So I have a feeling that like you said, I think 11th they'll be gone. 10th, yeah, they'll probably stop selling them. There was the rumor going around that we were going to have 2 different codices for there would be a Primaris Codex and a Firstborn Codex. Now, I really don't think that's going to be true. I think that'd be a horrible, horrible, horrible decision in Games Workshop's part, because it would make things even more difficult to use than they already are, and the rules are already bloated as they are, and all this extra stuff. I think it's time to pare down the rules. So again, another reason I think we're going to eventually just stop seeing firstborn Marines. It's just extra rules that don't need to be in the codex, because they don't really serve a purpose anymore. If you look at any major list now, other than a few Blood Angels and Dark Angels lists, and Space Wolf lists, but that's very specific things like assault squads. Hi, Keegan. I heard in 10th the Necrons may get more unified. I don't know. That's a weird one. I haven't really heard much about the Necrons. Being a Space Marine player, that's where my focus is. But it could happen with the with the Silent King out there doing his thing, we could see, and obviously the stronger dominions taking over the smaller ones and bringing them in. Yeah, more Silent King making his presence. Yeah, I have a feeling, like I was saying there, with it's only specific specialized units like the Raven Wing and Deathwing and the Wolf Lords, not Wolf Lords, but Wolf Guard and the Assault Marines and all that. Those are the ones that are staying around. Tactical squads are out. Scout squads are out. Devastator squads are in somewhat because of the grav bomb that still works. But yeah, it's all mostly Primaris now. So the rest of it just gone. And I have a feeling that trend will continue. I'm hoping that we see some of those characters come back. I'd love to see Tellian come back as a Primaris 10th Company character in Phobos armor, right? Maybe dressed up as I think they're Eliminators, right? Still keep his gun because the Quietus is a cool weapon. More phasing out of dynasties. Yeah, I've heard the same rumor that a lot of the books, apparently 10th is going to be a long-awaited paring down of the rules. We're going to see less. Well, again, this is just rumor. Take it with a massive grain of salt. I think we're going to see less rules overall. I think it's going to be more of a general stratagem for everybody, instead of everybody having here's a bunch of Space Marine alternates. It's going to be general stratagems for everybody to use, which I think is great. And I heard that there's the other thing was that it would be less broken down into dynasties or chapter, or it'll be by character. So if you take this particular character, you have access to all this stuff. You take this particular character, you have access to this different stuff, something like that. I even heard rumors that they want to bring back the Universal Special Rules, which was a really cool thing they did back in. That sounds more like gameplay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's they've even the Breakfast Club testing. Roger, can you hear me? Over. Well, that's the thing. I mean, in terms of story-wise, they've already kind of touched on Necron, the dynasties attacking each other, and some trying to pull in other ones. So there's, again, it is part of the storyline. It's also part of the whole, hey, let's get Necrons to fight Necrons, so Necron players don't feel weird fighting each other. Sort of that blue on blue battle that's happened back in the day. And like, why is Space Marine Chapter A fighting Space Marine Chapter B? They're both Space Marines. So, but yeah, in terms of the fluff, I think there's always been these major powerful dynasties and smaller ones. And I remember reading in some of the fluff somewhere that the larger ones do tend to try and attack and usurp, assimilate, whatever word you want to take, these smaller ones and use them. They wipe out the leadership and erase all the command protocols and take the warriors are left and bring it into their dynasty to great. Because I mean, a lot of the Necron lords are obviously, since the retcon, are still very much, if they haven't been damaged by the long sleep, they're still very much in command of their faculty, and they're acting just as they would have 65 million years ago when they were first fighting the Eldari and the old ones and all that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what 10th brings. I've been following along, seeing what the fluff is. What was it? Who was it again? It was is that way from what I've read, even attacking planets. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. So again, like the bigger dynasties have been trying to attack and take over these sleeping dynasties that haven't woken up yet. And I don't know how much of the the Silent King is letting this happen or wanting to happen to maybe more quickly unify the. So I'm just looking for where that video was. Who was it? Believe it was, where did it go? Yes, chapter master of Alrak. I think we've all heard of him. I was following along with his fluff about the latest book, and it seems pretty cool. I think we're 10th is going to be interesting, and I think we're going to see again if the rumors are true, Space Marines and Nids will be in the box set, which is kind of cool. But yeah, back to the Necrons. The Silent King's big plan is to, well, as far as we know, is to stop the Tyranids because he was out floating in between galaxies and saw what was coming, raced back, and started waking up his people in order to hopefully stop the Tyranids from destroying the galaxy, which is probably what's going to happen if they ever decide to, I think, fully end 40K. I'm not sure how they do that, but the Tyranid menace coming up through the middle of the galaxy, through center and up like this and around it. Obviously, if everything's been eaten, consumed, he can't get his people back into mortal shells and undo the mistake he made following the Star Gods, right? So I think that'll be it'll be interesting to see where the story goes. Obviously, we still have, was it 2 more books, I think, in the Arcs of Omen? It was 5 originally. I know the next one looks like it's going to be Orcs and Tau. And of course, everybody's throwing these connection. Hey, hello, Red Green 09. Hey, it's me, not Binky the Clown. Hey, Binky the Clown. I know that. Good old Binky the Clown. That's from Garfield, if people don't know, the Garfield cartoon. The original Votann, yeah. Okay, so if the Votann are cool, I love the fact that they brought them back and they made their old name sort of a racist term. Squats are what they were called. The original Squats were, if you don't know, I'll give you a little history lesson. I've been at this for long enough. The Squats came out in it was probably Rogue Trader, the very first edition of 40K. They were there for second edition, somewhat. They were basically dwarfs in space, just like you see now. Well, far more looking like dwarfs from fantasy. Their axes, they had armor, everything looked a lot more dwarf-like than it does now. And it was funny. They had a whole bunch of crazy cool stuff, lots of amazing weapons. They had the original land train, just massive vehicle. And this was a different time, and Games Workshop had a far different sense of humor. And then they decided that they didn't want to carry on. Third edition came out. Even by second edition, there was no book for them. They were gone. But by third edition, they were never coming back. And they had multiple ways they were wiped out. One was the Nids ate them. Also, apparently, Ghazghkull wiped them out. So it could have been both. You gotta do a vid on Squats sometime. I should probably do something about the Squats. They were, that was a long time ago. They were out there at the same time as like the original version of the Genestealer cults, which is again the same but significantly different from what it is now. Now they've made them, more along the lines of the downtrodden working crews. That's why their vehicles are very utilitarian. They're rock grinding, drilling machines, just bikes. But back then they were more like a gang almost, right? They had their own army. They still had all the tyranny stuff, but they were working on Votann, nice. The Breakfast Club, working on Votann. Good. They did have badass beards, though. And they never really... The Squats never really... obviously, rules-wise, they disappeared, but they never really left the minds of the people in the hobby. I remember when I was working in Games Workshop way back in the day, I was talking about that earlier. I actually was at visited the old mall I used to work at that had a Games Workshop, and it's a hairdresser now. Get my hair did. I remember one of my coworkers. There was 2 stores in Ottawa at this point. There was only one. He worked at the other one. He took Imperial Guard bits and dwarf bits and slammed them together and made his own small little squat army. It just played like a normal guard army, but it was all short. He even shrunk the tanks down, so the turrets and like the land on the Lehman Russes were now at the front. So you had no turrets, so everything was smaller. Can you confirm or tell me if I'm wrong? I heard that squats are just kin, and the actual Votann are the overlords they serve. Someone else is going to answer that because I don't know enough about the new Votann. I know the Votann are think of the name of the race, and they have different kins, and the I can't remember what their AI overlords are at the moment. Keegan says, no, the AI are seen as butters. That's true. The Votann are AI are weird there. They have these massive old style computers, cogitators, if you're a Imperial like me. It's AI, and it's how everything's cloned, but they're slowing down. And they have AI warriors that are with them. It's really weird. But yeah, they definitely don't want the Imperium to know about that, because of the Imperium's absolute fanatical hatred of all of artificial, abominable intelligence. They don't call it artificial intelligence. It's abominable intelligence. Although it is AI who build Votann and tubes that really test tube babies. That's true. It's cool. The Votann, they clone everything, and you're basically cloned into a role. So their big hero there, the Destin, I can't remember his name, was cloned to be a leader. You're cloned in all these different things, right? So there's people that are cloned to be builders, people that are cloned to be warriors, right? It's almost like the technology the Emperor used, tens of thousands of years ago when he created his Thunder Warriors and his Space Marines and the Primarchs. I think it's an extension of that, because Votann really, they're under. Check here. I'll go to the Games Workshop website. I'm not gonna bring it up there, because I don't have that tech yet. I'm still learning this, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. But if I go to Games Workshop website under Warhammer, let me take a quick look here. But I believe, they are under a Xenos army. Yeah, League's Votann. Yeah, they're a Xenos army according to them. But that's like saying a Ogryn is a Xenos or a Ratling is a Xenos. At the end of the day, the Votann, their ancestry is Terran. They're human. Well, they were at some point. And over the many millennia, who knows when they separated? Maybe the Age of Darkness or the Age of Strife, or maybe even way back in the age of technology, when mankind, they were spreading out to the stars. They populated these planets and started changing physically over the millennia. Which makes you wonder, with all the cloning, why are there men and women Votann? Just for variation's sake. Trust me, having played Space Marines, it's good to have a little variety in the models once in a while. Once you've painted up enough tactical Marines, even if you add little fetishes and flourishes, they're all still tactical Marines. The miniatures paintbrush. What is up, my brother? Hello, thank you for coming, my friend. That's just awesome. Welcome to the test here. I've been at this for almost half an hour now. I'm just trying it out. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. They are definitely abhumans. I think the Votann have been put as a Xenos army because I think they've been separated from mankind for long enough that there's really nothing human about them anymore. Again, especially if they're they're cloned now. I don't think you'd have to go pretty far back. And I need to take a look at the codex and see if there's anything in there about how the cloning technology. If you make a copy enough times, it starts breaking down. It's like taking a picture and putting a photocopier. If you photocopy the photocopy enough times, eventually it wears out. So I don't know if that's a problem they're dealing with. It's cool that they're a bit more technologically advanced. They've got those cool, Uber bolters that make the standard bolter look like a pea shooter, which still ticks me off, because the bolter was like the greatest weapon for 7 editions, and now it's a pea shooter. It's really not that much better than a las gun anymore, which kind of ticks me off. I get we've got the bolt rifle, which is sort of taking the place, and it's still a bolt gun, but man, I miss having to be running around with tactical marines and boltering everything to death because you could. Now I'm gonna have to go get some intercessors to do the same thing, or heavy intercessors. I like the look of the heavy intercessors. But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun, guys. I don't know. I'm gonna keep going for a little while longer. I'm having fun doing this. Maybe you guys can tell me what to you. Now I live in Canada here, so it's 10:48 here p.m. So for some of you that's like 9 o'clock. Some of you it's way early or late. I don't know where everybody's coming from. But what night do you guys think I should do a live stream on? I was saying beforehand before everybody jumped on. Someone you know may have a puppet sport. Hey, I'll have to talk to that someone I know. Say no more. But what night do you guys think I should do it on? I don't want to do it on Friday nights because it's the end of the week. I'm tired and I like watching the Frost and Fists live stream. I can talk today. I don't want a Tuesday night because I watched the Taco Tuesday there. I don't know what night to do it on. I've been bouncing around trying to figure it out. I want to do something I can have fun with. I can reach a lot of people. I know the time differentials can be difficult. So hey, if you guys want to give me any suggestions, I would be more than happy to get those. Bigger questions, yes. That is the other thing. I got kids. I got the family obligations. I got to take kids to. Why not Tuesday? Just not want to talk about it. Oh, good. Okay, Keegan. How about Wednesday? Unfortunately, my son has Sea Cadets. So Wednesday's definitely out. I should say Friday's out because kids have dance. Some of my kids have dance. Wednesday's out because my son has Sea Cadets. So I wouldn't be able to get on. What Sea Cadets? It's like early military. They're the uniforms there. It's for the Navy, right? I did it years ago. My son's doing it now. Now it's good, but it's 2 p.m. Sunday here. Oh, there you go. 2 p.m. Sunday. Well, that's okay. Yeah, combine ROTC with Scouts. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I was trying to put it. It's kids have fun. They get to learn how to tie knots and learn about ship drill. They get to. He's been firing off air rifles and apparently really good at it. So yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I know. I've been thinking Thursday nights. I've been thinking maybe Saturday nights. I don't know yet. I mean, again, like Mythos said, there is the best fit for my life. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But I want to do this test because I want to make sure it worked. The last time I did a live was years ago, and I was using a whole other third-party live streamer, and I'm clicking over here to get over here. This seems to be working pretty well. I know I got to work on the lighting. I'm in an older house, so the lighting here is not the very best. I got to work on that. I may try and bring in some other lights to sort of brighten things up because this is kind of dark. And I'm going to have to maybe make a little bit more room so I can get some models in front of me and paint as I go. Because it's also going to be I like this because it's also going to be something of a hobby therapy as well, right? Work hard during the week, and I want to take some time, actually set some time apart to actually get some hobbying done because I do these little bursts here and there. Get some stuff done here, get some stuff done here, but it's never consistent enough. I can go weeks without putting paint to a model. I'll do a little build here, and then it gets put away for a while because other life stuff. And then I'll paint a little bit here. I did the that Dreamblade Woods of the Coast figure, and it just sort of boom. It was handed to me. I said, "Oh man, that's awesome," but the painting on it is horrible because it's a mass-produced. Can I put an L-shaped desk? No, I do not have the room for that. Uh, Thanks. You look like Pugsley Adams. I'm gonna take that personally. I know it's the shirt. I wore it out because it's not a bad shirt. I'll wear something better next time. I wish I could put an L-shaped desk in. I don't have room for that. The downside to having lots of kids. I have lots of kids, but the downside of kids is my house is filled with kid stuff. And we are in the process of going through, and we're going to be renovating the downstairs briefly, but we have to get rid of a whole bunch of crap in there. There's just kid crap everywhere, so we're going to have to work on that. Well, it's just going to get better. I hope so. But yeah, so like I was saying, I do these things like the Dream Blade thing. I painted it up, and I decided, hey, let's turn this into like something of a corny demon prince without wings, just to have fun with it. But again, it was a spurt. Just got it done. Yeah, so this way, if I can pick a night every week, I'll have a certain amount of time. I think I'm just gonna do maybe like an hour, and just go boom, boom, boom every week, get an hour. That way, I can get stuff painted. Because right now, like I said, I have Hellblasters I want to get painted up. I have some Reavers I want to get painted up. I've got bunch of lieutenants. I got Ventress to paint up. My wife bought me a box of Outriders, so I want to get those guys painted up, built and painted. Because like I said earlier before, it's time. I think it's time to get rid of the. Yeah, YouTube holds you accountable for sure. It does. Absolutely right. But like I said, it's time to get rid of the Firstborn and start diving in heavily to the Primaris stuff. It's kind of sad. Not gonna lie. One of my favorite units is the Tyrannic War Veterans, another unit that is no longer available. I love those since 4th edition. They were a great addition. They looked awesome. They had really cool rules. And even now, the rules, they're okay. But points wise, they're great. 17 points per model. Then you can lots of firepower, AP -1 to their bolters, because they've got these special issue bolters. Bonuses, they get to rerolls against anything with a tyranny keyword. It's great. Will they make it through 10th? Maybe. Oh, will they be gone by 11th? Absolutely. They'll probably become legend or something, which means they're still around. But so I'm trying to deal with that. Again, it's weird. I know we've had Primaris Marines for a good, what is it? Almost 8 years now. It was 2015, 2016 we switched over. Well, it looked like beakies and pig guns for the orcs. Beakies, yeah. But I've spent more time with the Firstborn Marines than Primaris Marines. So it is a bit of an adjustment for me, because I've played so many games with my Ultramarines, my Black Templars too. And now it's time to say goodbye, sort of transition to the new hotness instead of the old busted, the new hotness. So that's gonna be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But like I said, like the miniature paintbrush said, it will hold me accountable. So I'll be able to sit down and go, okay, I'm gonna get the blues done this hour. I'm gonna get this done, and then the next week, okay, now it's time for all the silver, gold that I'm gonna put on, and the week after that, okay, now it's time for skin tones and all the little things, the purity seals, and all that cool stuff. Chest eagles, the skull and eagle on the weapons, right? So I'm looking at. I got this guy's my little inspiration. He's don't know if you can see him very well. It's one of those free, easy build Primaris intercessors. And all I did was swap out a head, and I chopped the magazine off a Stormbolter and shoved it on there. And I myself a easy Primaris Lieutenant with the master crafted auto bolt rifle with lots of ammunition there. It was just fun. I have something I tried to do, and I said, you know what, that worked. And I just, again, a little gold there, here and there on the knee pad, on the trim around the, I don't know if you can see that trim around the hands, and then on the backpack, just to make him seem a little bit more important. Yeah. It's always little fun, little things you can do. I'm not for you bleak and the new stuff, or you don't like the new stuff. The main thing is to have fun. That is true. That's very true. The fun is the rule of cool and having fun. That's what I'm trying to do with it. With everything that's gone on, like today, they were talking about the third anniversary of all the mess that's happened in 3 years. All the staying at home and not. It's really. I found it really hard, especially with my job. I still had to be out of the house. I was doing stuff, a lot of different IT stuff, so I had to go out. And so there was a lot of working, a lot of coming home, trying to keep the kids from, because it was a lot of worrying for my kids. Like my youngest two spent most of their life indoors in the house, and you got them outside. So I'm definitely really trying very hard now to have fun and to not worry about all the other stuff. There's so much negativity. It's actually one of the things I've been doing for my own mental health is I've been censoring what I've been watching. Because there's so much negativity out there. There's so many. Okay, going to bed. Great. Oh, good night, Hegan. We'll see you hopefully sometime in the future. I'll definitely put up on the channel and a few other places when I've nailed down a night. Thank you very much for being part of this test. It means a lot to me. But yeah, there's so much negativity out there. So many YouTube channels. We're just inundated. And being IT, it's just boom, 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 all the time. Negativity. So I've definitely been watching channels that have been positive. And there's several people here that their channels I watch on a regular basis. I may not always comment because I don't always have something to say, but I'm watching because you guys are positive. You're fun to watch. You're always trying to build something, trying to make things. Guard yourself from negativity. Absolutely, you guys are fun to watch. It's positive stuff. It's building, sharing. There's a whole. It's a beautiful part of the community. It's why I started working for Games Workshop when I did my interview. My manager was a really good manager. I learned a lot from him. In the Barney bin. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Agreed, I'm not saying, but I have been turned off channel spewing it. Yeah, dude, you do. You. The worst thing you do is you get a little salty because you don't like Tau, and I don't think I've ever seen anything that you've put out that's ever been negative. You've always been showing off models, talking enthusiastically about it. I wouldn't say that you're anywhere near the problem. There's a lot of channels. No, I'm not going to name any, but there's a lot that I've just shook my head at because it's and I get why people do it because negativity sells, but it's just not for me. I don't want to be beaten down with the same, this is bad and this is bad and this is broken and this is broken. And this sucks and that sucks. Tau is amazing. Why whinge? That is supposed to be. It is. We make mistakes. Yeah. We all. Yeah. Why whinge? Exactly. There's a lot of whining. A lot of. Yeah. It's not good. Tau. I can't agree with you on them. Tau to me are not amazing. They could be amazing. And I mean they've got some fantastic looking models. I'm not a big fan of Tau either. Like smashing Tau. We had a saying, remember the day you slaughtered the Teu. That came from someone coming in the store going, do you guys have Teu? Teu? What's a Teu? Oh, you mean Tau. Yes, we have Tau. And we have, I could regale you guys for hours with tales from my time at Games Workshop. The amount of times we had someone called in looking for the Tau deli fish, and they meant the devil fish. God, back in the day when fantasy was still a thing and not the Age of Sigmar, when the Bretonnians were still around. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Warhammer Fantasy, you're making me feel old. But we had the Bretonnians, right? The Grail questing knights with their yeomen and their bowmen and all their poor hangers on. Well, you had the trebuchet, obviously, if you know what that is. Maybe they will. But they had the trebuchet, right? This big machine that launches rocks. Well, someone came in and was looking for the Bretonnian tree bucket, and we're like, "What is a tree bucket?" We thought it was a joke at one point. We're like, "Tree bucket? Yeah, the tree bucket. What tree bucket? Why we don't have? Oh, the trebuchet. Yes, we do have that. That is, by the way, was a horrible model put together. Yeah, hoping that Tales from Working at Geo would regular feature. I have so many stories. I did a series when I first started channel, the Red Shirt Chronicles. I stopped doing it because, who wants to hear about that? No, apparently people do. So, the Orc Rob Lobster. No, it was a weird time, and I've worked for Games Workshop twice, and both ended not the way I wanted them to end, obviously, but the first time was, and for 95% of it was an absolute treat. It was great. It was amazing. Second time was not as fun, mostly because the culture had changed significantly. It's changed back a bit more now, but it was a completely different culture. When I was there the first time, it was about building a hobby. It was always about the hobby. We had set, like any store, right? I don't know who's worked retail, but obviously, you have all your sales targets you have to hit for the day, the week, monthly, and obviously you have like a whole year of sales targets you have to hit. But we also had hobby targets, so we had to, do a certain number of paint lessons, a certain number of intro games, a certain number of we had to sell a certain number of core sets, so like your starter sets, your rule books, and stuff like that. But we definitely dove in, and we wanted people to enjoy the hobby. I'm rambling all over the place, but getting back to like when I first got into the hobby, when I did my interview, it was one of the things I said, like, I want to do this because I want to share my love of this hobby with other people. I want people to be excited. I want them to have the same memories I have. But so we had all these goals, and building the hobby was a big part of it. Just getting kids painting a model, and then watching them, it didn't kids, adults, whatever, and then watching them pick out their first army, and then they come back a week, a month later, and they start playing, and they're having so much fun. That was the at one point, and it's still up at the current store, which kind of ticks me off because they did nothing to earn it. But in 2008, we won a hobby builder award. We basically were the exemplars for, at least as we were told at the time, we were the exemplars for hobby building in all of North America. We had just the amount of painting lessons we gave, intros, just it was wonderful. 2008 was probably my favorite year of working at Games Workshop because we were just just blowing it out of the water. The second time, Games Workshop had this, and they still have this funny idea that, and they started this trend in Japan, which kind of explains it, because Japan is a much different culture, obviously, than North America. Never got used or always went to, yeah. That's cool. Well, it's cool to have a store. It's about half an hour away from me at this point, but it's still fun. I haven't been there forever. Last time I was there was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Maybe, yeah, at this point, yeah. I just have everything shipped to my house now. It's not so much simpler. But they decided that because a one-man store worked in a store in Japan, which doesn't even exist anymore, other stores are back to being two-man, that they'd start bringing that idea over to North America. And so we had a whole bunch of one-man stores. Obviously, there's less overhead. The store can be smaller, so on and so forth. But it makes hobby building next to impossible. One is by the Empire State Building. That's cool. I've not seen that. If I ever get a chance to go to New York City, I may have to go check that out. I definitely want to do that. Of course, I want to go to the holy mecca of Warhammer and hit Warhammer World at some point. Who knows when? It could be years from now, but I definitely want to. I definitely want to go there. But I was saying it's impossible to build the hobby with someone effectively if you're the only person in the store. So it was all about making money, and it was definitely the culture at the time. This is the same point. I was working part-time there while I was going to college, and it was honestly a really embarrassing time to be a Games Workshop employee, because this is the same time that Games Workshop was mired in a lawsuit with Chapter House. They had at this point also told Amazon to take down the book of some stay-at-home mom who wrote a book called Spots the Space Marine, and they forced to take it down. It was not a fun time being a staffer, even part-time. The backlash to that was so strong that that Games Workshop. This is on Facebook. They had this. They obviously, it's all back now. There's the Warhammer TV. There's Forge World. All the stuff's back there. But they actually had a Games Workshop Facebook page. The backlash was so big on that they had to shut it down. And they said, okay, stores will be responsible for their own Facebook pages. And so the store I was at, we had our and so on. I'm in Maryland now. I need to travel to Virginia. Okay, well, I'm really not sure how far of a drive that is for you. Sorry. Is it a big drive? Small drive? I don't know. Spot a Space Marine. It was a book called Spots the Space Marine, and it was about obviously we're not talking about a 10-foot tall genetically engineered superhuman killing machine in space. He was just a U.S. Marine. He was in space, I guess. I've never actually read the book, but it was not a fun time. There was a ton of backlash, and during one of my courses, we had to do technical writing, and we had to bring an example of just atrocious writing. And funnily enough, it was about that same time that the Games Workshop investor report came out. And it was quite possibly the most embarrassing thing that had ever been written by someone working Games Workshop. Ever. 3.5 hours. Eesh. That is quite the drive to go to a Games Workshop store. Ouch. I kind of feel less bad about my half an hour. I'm spoiled. But this investor report was basically just filled with it started off with like, Games Workshop has had a great year. Unless you can count making money, then Games Workshop hasn't had a good year. Like, how do you, like, these are investors. How do you, and there was mention there about, crops dying off and children dying and it was one of the worst written things. And this is going to investors. Now, a lot of people, I would assume a lot of the people who are investing in Games Workshop probably know what it's about. Other people just invest, right? They just go, hey, that's a really good looking stock. Let me buy into that, and have absolutely no idea what Games Workshop does. They just know that the stock is doing well at that point, and they buy in. I get my GW stuff from friendly local game stores, eBay. Yeah, I get mine from, I go on the Games Workshop website and buy it, and it usually arrives within a week or so, depending on what it was. The Arcs of Omen book, the first one there, Abaddon, took a long time. It took like 2 weeks to get here. So obviously there's probably something to do with where it's coming. It always comes from the States. But yeah, so the second time through was not so much fun. And I had it's why I don't talk about that one that much, because it's kind of a negative time. It was fun for a while, but the manager there, not someone at this point, this is the second time through, not someone who should be managing people. Let's put it that way. And it was not fun that time. It was just, especially with all that negativity, it was every major hobby space was raging against Games Workshop at the point. And honestly, the company deserved it. You don't try and shut down someone because they put a Space Marine They use the word Space Marine. They can't, and as they found out in the lawsuit with Chapter House, there was a lot of stuff that they could not copyright because, and they brought in like science fiction experts and trying to figure out the first time that the word Space Marine was used, and there's there was a whole bunch of stuff about copyright, and again, it's a global company, so there's different copyrights everywhere. I think a lot of it is yeah. My closest GW store is about 11,000 kilometers. Sorry, 1,100 kilometers away. My closest is 100. Yeah, that's not that bad. I mean, still 107 kilometers is pretty far away, though. But yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff with intellectual property and copywriting and what you could and couldn't, and money went back and forth. It was a mess. In the end, when it finished off, Games Workshop lost a bunch of stuff. They had to rename it because someone had already built a model for it, and a lot of places it's use it or lose it sort of stuff. Especially in the States. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm no expert. Especially in the States, there's a whole lot of if you don't use it, you lose it sort of stuff, and that happened with Games Workshop, and that's why if you saw in this was in 5th, 6th, or 7th edition, all the names changed. Right, so it went from there. They became the Adeptus Astartes again instead of Space Marines. Still Space Marines, but the Astra Militarum, the Militarum Tempestus, Eldari, Drukhari, Heretic Astartes. Orcs was okay because it's spelled with a K instead of a C. A lot of armies lost characters because Games Workshop never made a model for them, and they couldn't at this point because someone had already made a model elsewhere that resembled this model, or even if it wasn't named the same, it was that model. So they lost a bunch. The Astra Militarum. I don't know. It's the translation is basically Space Army, which kind of makes sense, but not really. But they lost a whole bunch of stuff. The Dark Eldar Drukhari got gutted. They lost all the characters except for 3. Just because they never made a model, and I think Games Workshop, it was their mistake for doing it, and that goes back to 3rd edition, where they just didn't make models for some units, and they'd say in the codex. I remember there was the Catachan Codex. It was a the Catachan Devils was their elite unit, right? And they said, we're not making models for these, so you can have your own elite unit of Catachan Guardsmen, right? Yeah, Rip Brand Redmaw. Yeah, they never made a model for him. And so, again, with all this stuff, because there was a bunch of these companies, especially Chapter House, was making a lot of models for debut Chapter House. Now, before we doom Chapter House on this, it is technically their fault, but they've been making parts for years and years and years. But they've been naming them stuff that wasn't in any way infringing on Games Workshop's IP. You had stuff that was definitely Space Marines, but it was Space Knights, right? You had Alien Arms, which were clearly Tyranid weapons, but they were the weapons that Games Workshop never made bits for. So Games Workshop put out a Tyranid Codex in 4th and 5th edition, whenever they came out. I think it was 5th or whatever. And they had options that never had any models because they wanted people to model them, to give people that freedom. And they messed up because, again, Games Workshop came out with the Space Wolf Codex, and you had your Fenrisian wolves. You had your Thunderwolf cavalry. And are you talking to me or Red Green there? I don't know. Get off Etsy. Space Babes is one. Okay, I know what he's talking about. Bunch of 3D minis. Yeah, there's lots of 3D minis out there. The Thunderwolf cavalry. The Codex came out. They got a whole bunch of new models. They got the updated Blood Claws. They got updated Grey Hunters. And then there's the Thunderwolf cavalry. And no models came out. And time started going on just a bit, and still no models. I remember there was a rush on people buying Goblin Wolf Riders and then throwing Marines on them so they could have Thunderwolf cavalry, because at that point there wasn't any real wolves that you could use, and they were too small. It looked kind of humorous. You had the Space Marine on this not that big of a wolf because it was supposed to be meant for goblins. And then Chapter House made these amazing looking wolves with the Space Knight legs on them, and they looked like Marine legs, but looked like some of the old style armor. It could have easily been knight armor. The problem was on their website. I remember seeing this and saying to myself, "That's not good." It said, Thunderwolf cavalry. So they just called it like Space Wolf, or Space Knight wolf mounts. Boom. They probably wouldn't have had that problem. They would have been like, okay, it's not. And they looked great. These big wolves, lots of fur, chunks of armor on them, some cybernetics here and there. But because they put Thunderwolf cavalry, boom, there was the Games Workshop lawyers are always looking for people infringing an IP, right? But another story at that time when I was working for Games Workshop. This is back in 2015, and in that same technical writing class, we had to do something that was related to something we like to do. Yeah, exactly. Space Janitors for Custodies. I went on to a 3D printing website. I found someone's rendition of the older style of that Imperial Defense line, the one with the different segments you put together. I can't remember what it's called right now. And I printed a bunch of those off, and I did all the technical terms of how it was printed, the all that stuff, the printing. Yes, the GS Defense line. Thank you. That's it. My brain no worky. And I printed a bunch of those off, and I went through all the technical stuff. And then when I was doing my presentation, I went to all the technical painting and so on and so forth. And I had all right out. I went back to the website that I found it on. It was gone. I got the 404 error done. So it means it had been removed. So, and that was one of the things. Like, I've talked about 3D printing before. People ask me questions about it. It's a thing. Games Workshop's going to have to know it's a thing eventually. But obviously, back in 2015, even now, they're still shutting people down. I've been on some of those 3D printing websites, and something's up one day, and then a couple of days, a week later, it's gone. Right? You get the 404 error, no longer found. So they're always watching, and you got to be careful, right? It's usually the good stuff that people have made, and they've named it the wrong way. They've called it a Space Marine, or they've called it by what it is, and of course, Games Workshop flags it right away, and it's gone. So it's it's a weird world we live in now with all this stuff. I think eventually 3D printing will be the norm. And I think if it'll get to the point where 3D printers are good enough that everyone can have a good solid printer, would probably eventually see Games Workshop selling the files themselves for lots and lots of money too. You'll be able to buy a squad of intercessors. I think they're like $75 now Canadian. And you'll probably be able to buy a file for them for probably like $60, because Games Workshop's not going to drop the prices, right? Ever. Right? That was a big thing when I remember when Finecast came out. Oh, it's cheaper and easier to make resin models. The price is going to drop? Nope. They went up. And that was a failure. Finecast was the worst thing. That was back in 2009, 2008, end of 2008, 2009. And I remember when we got a bunch and we started looking at the packs going, uh-oh. And you could see shriveled arms, missing parts, divots and holes where the resin hadn't. And like the big question was like, who did quality control on this? Because it was bad. It was bad. Just again, and it's brittle. I have a couple of them. I got Vulcan Hestan, and I bought him in I've never painted him. I should I should probably paint him up at some point, or the old version. And I got him in Finecast first, and like the spear broke, his flaming chapter symbol broke off, lots of stuff broke. So I went out and I found it in metal so I could get it again, and it wouldn't break. So it was definitely not that fun. I'm glad they left that behind. I think that was a ill-conceived, ill-timed, and rushed experiment that they probably should have taken more time doing before they put out. Yeah, it was not a good thing. A lot of people were not happy with that. We replaced a lot of models because of fail cast, as people called it. It was, I picked up this character, and look, there's a massive, there's his shoulder pads got a whole bunch of holes in it. When and I go, here's a new one, and we try and look in the blister. You're flipping around. Oh, this one looks good. There you go, and you trade it out. And Games Workshop's response to that was not good either, because they're like, hey, you have a problem with your Finecast model? Here's how you fix it with green stuff. It's like, no, just no, guys, please, no, don't do that. It was that was near the end of my first time with Games Workshop. It was not fun anymore at that point. Again, there was a lot of cool stuff that happened beforehand, but then they started shutting down even information for us as staffers, which is a big problem. The White Dwarf changed. It went from, not that it wasn't always a catalog at its core, because they're trying to sell stuff, right? It's a business. But like the chapter proof stuff disappeared. All the fun stuff disappeared. It was literally like, here's the new stuff, buy it now. There were more ads for stuff in there. There used to be all this cool stuff, and the old chapter proof stuff was for veteran gamers. It was like, okay, well, here's a cool, like the creature creation stuff where you can create your own monsters, the vehicle design stuff where you can build your own vehicles. That was chapter proof. Just crazy, do all this crazy stuff. That all disappeared, and then you were flipping through. The battle reports got boring. And the big thing is we stopped getting heads up on what was coming. We would get information packets and they'll stop coming. So literally we would have to read the White Dwarf to find out what was coming that month, which really hurts and hampers your ability to get people excited. That was part of it, was hyping people up. And that hurt. There was also the end of the black box thing, and that was cool. The black box was an awesome idea, but was ruined by bad management at the stores. It was this cool little cardboard box that was black, and it was sealed with a piece of that sort of paper tape, right? And on it looked like a purity seal, cut open, and inside was a selection of models for the next big release. And you got this a month in advance. So we would take them out, build them, paint them. You could put on display so people could actually see the physical models of what was coming. And it was a great way to get people excited, to get people energized for what was coming. But we found out later that there was a lot of stores that were just throwing in the back. Area managers would go in the back, and then would have just piles of these black boxes covered in dust. Other ones were selling them. The managers were like, hey, who wants what was one of the ones that when the new orc buggy came out, and they were like, hey, who wants an orc buggy? And they'd be selling them to people and pocketing the money, because there was no tracking. You just got a box, right? They could just sell it for whatever they wanted to, and they're pocketing the money. Nothing was going on display. So that died down again. Another tool taken out of our hand to help get people excited, right? So yeah, and then yeah, it was a little after the Lord of the Rings bubble burst. Lord of the Rings, if you're in the UK, Lord of the Rings is huge, right? I mean, it's huge everywhere, but it was really big. In North America, it was big. It was at its biggest when the movies were out. And Games Workshop, as they are when they get money, made some bad decisions. and they signed a lot of leases that weren't very good. They opened up a Canadian headquarters, which probably wasn't the smartest idea because, let's face it, like Mythos, you live what you're I don't know if you want me saying, but like there's states in the United States of America that have a bigger population than all of Canada. We're not that populous, you know what I mean? So I don't think we need a store, but they opened up a store here, and they, like you said, they signed a lot of bad leases. And then when the bubble burst, when the last Lord of the Rings movie came out, people's the enthusiasm just died off, and we stopped selling Games Workshop models the same way. And they tried very hard. They put out other models. They tried to extend stuff. They tried to add other stories that weren't in the movies. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, Mythos. I was just going to use where you are. I shouldn't do that. I apologize. But yeah, it dropped down, and all of a sudden, Games Workshop, the money that was flowing stopped flowing so well, and they realized how some of the bad decisions they made. One of the stores, the other store in Ottawa, near where I live, it was a bad decision. It was a store, and it was sad because it had a battle bunker. So it was a place you could, for a monthly fee, go and play battles in an area that was separated slightly from the store, so you could actually have battles without customers interrupting you. You couldn't go back and say unless you were a battle bunker member. And so they realized it was tucked far away in the back. It wasn't really a place where people would get to, so they closed that down. They got rid of some staff, and it sort of steamrolled from there. Eventually, the HQ, the Canadian HQ, was closed. They moved some people around from that. So then we took our orders now from the headquarters in Memphis. And one of the big changes they had, and I was a part-timer at this time, was no more part-timers. So I was let go for that. And so that sucked. But it was at that point, it wasn't the same store because we had a lot of our tools have been taken away to get people excited. The culture changed to the point where it wasn't as fun anymore. And I worked with some really just horrible employees. When and I'm going to toot my horn on this, when you are a part-timer and you're outdoing your full-timers by a lot in terms of everything, sales, all this stuff, that's a bad sign. When your full-timers are messing about and sitting down and not really doing anything, your part-timers doing homework, that's not good. And then I found out afterwards that after gotta go. Yes, good night, Red Green, we'll see you later. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to shut this down in a few minutes anyways. But found out after that one of the full-timers there were 6 of us at one point, which is way too much for that store. We should have only had 4. He constantly going, I'm quitting, I'm not quitting, I'm quitting, I'm not quitting, I'm leaving, I'm not leaving. They basically said, okay, you're going to write a letter telling us exactly when you're leaving because we're sick of this. And he had to do that. 2 of the other guys basically had to jump ship because they were told in no uncertain terms, you guys are being investigated for time theft because they were leaving early. They were not doing the job. We were at this point. If the store closed at 7, you had to stay till 7:30. You had good night, Miniatures Paintbrush. Thank you very much. We'll see you later. I'm gonna sign off. It's getting late here. But yeah, they were leaving early. When at the end of the day, we had to count the cash, do the cleaning, and leave at a certain point. We could not leave any earlier. And from time to time, they would actually call us. We get a phone call. We'd be like 7:05, boom, phone call. Hey, Steve, how's it going? Just want to make sure everything's going good there. It's like, oh yeah, no, everything's fine here. Everything's fine. And like, okay, cool, man, just checking in. There was one time where I was busy vacuuming. It was the middle of winter, so we had this big red carpet, and it's the middle of winter, and the amount, basically at the end of the day, on a busy day, the front third of the store was just gray carpet because of all the salt and dirt brought in, and you basically had to spend a good 10 minutes just trying to vacuum this up to try and get that front area no longer gray. And I didn't hear the phone. And so once I stopped turning off, the phone's ringing on my hands. Like, where were you? What's going on? I'm like, I was just vacuuming, man. The carpet's a mess. Oh, okay, cool. Just checking up. Okay, bye. So it's like they were investigating, and I knew something was up at that point. But yeah, I know I've gone an hour and 50 minutes now, guys. I thank you all for joining me on this test. I think it was pretty successful, if I do say so myself. But the Gamecraft Egg and High it came in right at the end. I've done that so many times to you. I'm actually signing off now, man. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've hopped on and you're like, bye. I'm like, no. Watch it anyways because I love your stuff. But yeah, no, this has been pretty successful. So I'm gonna have it up relatively soon. Oh, thanks, Mythos. I'll have an update soon as to when I'm going to be doing a live, and hopefully that'll get out of my. Oh, thank you, man. That'll get me out of my hobby funk and get me painting Primaris Marine, so I get caught up with the new hotness. It's fine. Just got back from my tournament. I hope it went well for you. I hope you did well. I'll have to let me know how well you did. All right, but I'm gonna sign off now, guys. Thank you very much. Keep rolling those dice, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.